Kotelny Island is part of the Anzhu Islands subgroup of the New Siberian Islands located between the Laptev Sea and the East Siberian Sea in the Russian Arctic. It is administratively and municipally part of Bulunsky District Kotelny. Faddeyevsky and Bunge Land are usually named as separate islands on most 20th-century maps, although sometimes on the newest maps the name Kotelny is applied to the whole island. A flat, low-lying plain connecting both is known as Bunge Land. The total area of Kotelny Island is 23,165 square kilometers. Kotelny is one of the 50 largest islands in the world. These merged islands are a practically uninhabited territory belonging to the Sakha Republic of the Russian Federation. History: the island was officially discovered by a Russian merchant and hunter Ivan Lyakov with the merchant Protodyukanov in 1773. In 1770, Ivan Lyakov noticed reindeer tracks heading seaward across the sea ice. In 1773, he and Protodyukanov discovered the Lyakovsky Islands by boat using the bearing of these tracks. Continuing from the Lyakovsky Islands, they discovered Kotelny Island and named it Kettle Island, after a copper kettle, which they found while exploring it. The person who visited Kotelny Island and left the copper kettle is unknown. Formerly this island had been known as Faddeyevsky Island or Faddeyevsky Islands in some maps. Under the employment of seamen and Lovsirovatsky, Yakov Sannikov conducted numerous hunting and cartographic expeditions between 1800 and 1810. On one of these expeditions in 1805, he discovered Faddeyevsky Island. In 1809 to 1810, Yakov Sannikov and Matvey Gedenstrom went to the New Siberian Islands on a cartographic expedition. Yakov Sannikov reported the sighting of a new land north of Kotelny in 1811. This became the myth of Zemlya Sannikova or Sannikov Land. In 1886, Baron Eduard von Toll thought that he had seen an unknown land north of Kotelny. He guessed that this was the so-called Zemlya Sannikova. Geography: the western part of Kotelny Island proper, also known as Kettle Island, is the largest section of the group with an area of 11,665 square kilometers. It is rocky and hilly, rising to 374 meters on Mount Malakatantaz. The Chakotya River flows westwards to the Laptev Sea. The Anzhu Sea Cape, 76.200 degrees north, 139.1167 degrees east, 76.200, 139.1167 is the northernmost headland of Kotelny and it is an important geographical point for it marks the knee limit of the Laptev Sea. Bunge Land or Zemlya Bunge is a huge empty and almost barren intermediate zone. It is located between Kotelny and Faddeyevsky, which, unlike Bunge Land, could be described as proper islands. Sandy and flat, its area is 6,200 square kilometers. Since it rises only to a maximum height of 8 meters above sea level, Bunge Land is flooded during storm surges, except for a very small area in the southeast that rises to an elevation of 11 to 21 meters above sea level. The area that is periodically submerged accounts for over 80% of the total surface and is practically devoid of vegetation. Bunge Land is named after Russian zoologist and explorer Alexander Alexandrovich Bunge. Faddeyevsky Peninsula is a large peninsula projecting from the northern end of Bunge Land eastwards with its isthmus in the north. There is a deep inlet on Faddeyevsky between its western coast and adjoining Bunge Land. Unlike Kotelny, this island is relatively flat despite its size, its highest point being only 65 meters. Its area is 5,300 square kilometers. Faddeyevsky is covered with tundra vegetation and dotted with small lakes. This island was named after a fur trader called Faddeyev who built the first habitation there. Adjacent islands deep inside the bay on the northern side of Kotelny lies Kotelny Island, 75.667 degrees north, 140.833 degrees east, 75.667, 140.833. It is 11 kilometers long and 5.5 kilometers wide. Very close to Bunge Land's northwestern coast there are two islands, Zheleznyakov Island, right off the en.wikipedia, and east of it, Anzhu Island. Both islands are about 5 kilometers in length. Kotelny Island, 76.283 degrees north, 140.416 degrees east, 76.283, 140.416 is a small island located due north off the northern bay formed by Kotelny and Bunge. It is C-shaped and only 4 kilometers in length, but its importance lies in the fact that it is the northernmost island of the new Siberian group. Siberian Island was located about 30 kilometers east of Kotelny Island. When discovered in 1822 by P. Anzhu, while he was searching for Sannikov land, its area was about 8 to 9 square kilometers. At the time, it had sea cliffs as high as 20 meters. Although marked on maps published in 1926, 1941, and 1945, a Soviet hydrographic expedition conducted in the early 1940s found that Siberian Island no longer existed. Geology. Kotelny Island consists of sedimentary rocks and sediments ranging in age from early Paleozoic to late Cenozoic. The oldest rocks fossiliferous shallow to deep water marine, or Division to early Devonian limestones and dolomites, middle Devonian to Carboniferous interbedded limestones, dolomites, sandstones, and conglomerates overlay these sedimentary strata. The Permian to Jurassic strata exposed within Kotelny Island consist of interbedded, fossiliferous mudstones, siltstones, and sandstones. All of these sedimentary rocks are folded into complex anticlines and synclines, and intruded by thin diabase dikes. Pleistocene to Holocene fluvial sediments which range in age from 1,500 to greater than 55,000 radiocarbon years BP, underlie stream terraces that lie within the Baliktak and Dragotsena river valleys. Thick permafrost has developed in these sediments. Within Bunge Land and the southwest corner of Kotelny Island, relatively unconsolidated sediments ranging in age from early Cretaceous to Holocene overlay the above folded and faulted sedimentary rocks. The oldest of these sediments are early Cretaceous alluvial clays, silts, and sands that contain layers of conglomerate tufaceous sandstone, coal, and a top rhyolite. The late Cretaceous sediments are overlain by late Eocene to Pliocene alluvial sands that contain layers of clay, silt, gravel, brown coal, and lignitized wood. The vast majority of Bunge Land is blanketed by early Holocene marine sediments. Only in the central and southern parts of Bunge Land do either late to early Pleistocene marine sediments of very small patches of highly weathered, pre-Quaternary deposits and bedrock underlie the surface. The surface of Faddeyevsky Island is underlain by unconsolidated sediments ranging in age from early Cretaceous to Pleistocene. Three very small and isolated exposures indicate that the early Cretaceous strata are similar to those found in the southwest corner of Kotelny Island. Overlying the early Cretaceous sediments are alluvial and lacustrine Eocene clays and silts that contains rare beds of sands, brown coal, and gravel. To the north, these sediments grade laterally into nearshore marine clays with fossil pelecypods. The Eocene sediments are overlain by fossiliferous, terrestrial and marine Oligocene to Miocene sands that contain subordinate beds of mud, clay, gravel and brown coal. The Oligocene-Miocene sands accumulated in alluvial, lacustrine, and nearshore marine environments. Overlying the Oligocene-Miocene sands are Pliocene alluvial, lacustrine, and nearshore marine muds, silts, and sands. Pleistocene deposits blanket most of the surface of Faddeyevsky Island. A layer of late Pleistocene and Holocene alluvial and lacustrine deposits largely cover the central and southern parts of Faddeyevsky Island. Middle and late Pleistocene deposits largely cover the northern part of this island. The permafrost is about 400 to 500 meters thick. The central plain of Faddeyevsky Island has been highly altered by thermokarst processes. It contains numerous deep erosive cuts created by the seasonal melting of the permafrost. Numerous baidzarics, thermokarst mounds, dot the landscape. They are the result of the melting of polygonal ice wedges within the permafrost. Vegetation: rush, grass, forb, cryptogam tundra covers all of Faddeyevsky Island and most of Kotelny Island. It is tundra consisting mostly of very low-growing grasses, rushes, forbs, mosses, lichens, and liverworts. These plants either mostly or completely cover the surface of the ground. The soils are typically moist, fine-grained, and often hummocky. Prostrate dwarf shrub tundra covers all of Bunge Land and the eastern part of Kotelny Island adjacent to it. This type of tundra consists of dry tundra with open to patchy vegetation. The dominant plants comprising prostrate dwarf shrub tundra are shrubs, i.e. Dryas spp, and Salix arctica, less than 5 cm tall, graminoids, and forbs. Lichens are also common. Climate: Kotelny Island has a harsh Arctic climate, with temperatures only reaching above freezing briefly in the short summer months. Strategic importance: between 1933 and 1993, Kotelny Island hosted an important Soviet naval base. With the fall of the Soviet Union, the base was evacuated and only a civilian Arctic research station remained located on the island. In late 2013, the first steps were taken to reactivate the base, with a temporary airstrip for flying in supplies and personnel established by a Russian naval task force that visited the new Siberian Islands. During September 2013, other initial infrastructure and supplies for the base, along with associated personnel, were landed by the task force, whose flagship was the Kirov-class battlecruiser Faddeyevsky. In September 2014, the 99th Tactic Arctic Group permanently established the base by beginning construction of a runway, pier and accommodation for troops and the families. The airfield is now able to receive Ilyushin Il-76 aircraft all year long, which significantly improved the base's ability to resupply. In popular culture, part of the action of Jules Verne's novel Ce Acute Sar Cascabel takes place on Kotelny Island. There the European protagonists encounter 350 to 400 members of a Finnish tribe who make their living by whaling and sealing.